Nintendo disappoints fans with a snippet of Wii U news, Australia gets ready for a couple of big shows, EA cans NBA Live 13, again, and PopCap Games closes its Dublin studio. Black Ops 2 surprises nobody with the inclusion of the undead, BioWare announces N7 Day for November, Steam gets closer to a Linux client, Portal 2 gets a super special collector's edition soundtrack, Grand Theft Auto 3 hits PlayStation Network, Mists of Pandaria learns a few things about optimization, Rift launches a cheeky promotion, and Rovio takes the app world by storm, all in this week's edition of Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen. Gamers around the world were disappointed rather than surprised when Nintendo confirmed this week that the Wii U would be region locked when it launches in November. It follows the trend of the Wii and both of Nintendo's latest handhelds, but many gamers were still hoping the new one would support imported games. Essentially, region locking is Nintendo's way of curbing piracy, but it also means that gamers cannot legitimately import copies from overseas, either to save money or to access not yet localized titles. The world is divided up into a few major regions when it comes to software. America is one, Japan another, and Europe, Australia and New Zealand all lumped together into a third. This means that if you're looking forward to one of those quirky Japanese titles, you might need to buy an entirely new console in order to run it. And while on the topic of the Wii U, the console is heading down under to take pride of place at the upcoming EB Expo in Sydney on October 5 to 7. It will be the first time the Australian public can go hands-on with new Nintendo hardware, and there will be more than a handful of games on show, from New Super Mario Bros. U and Nintendo Land to Zombie U, Darksiders 2, Assassin's Creed 3 and Just Dance 4. And while on the topic of Australia, a leaked sales document has let the penny arcade cat right out of the bag. PAX Oz looks like it'll be held in Melbourne from July 19 to 21 next year, the same weekend as San Diego Comic-Con. Before you think that was an accidental calendar malfunction, both events are being organised by the same people, so it's possibly just a case of not enough weeks in the year. No details yet on the Australian Expo and no official announcements, but gamers in Brisbane and Sydney are already trying to get over their disappointment. Other fans trying to get over their disappointment are those gamers who like a little bit of basketball. Electronic Arts this week made the decision not to launch NBA Live 13, marking the second time this particular project has been shelved. EA Sports Executive Vice President Andrew Wilson explains that, looking at the game now, there is no way it would be ready for launch in October to coincide with the start of the real-world NBA season. Rather than finishing the game and then releasing it mid-season, EA has decided to sit this one out, focusing instead on the future of the franchise and the release of NBA Live 14. Despite the development team explaining that this is the right decision for their fans, it's not surprising that the news wasn't exactly welcomed with open arms. Another branch of EA is in the spotlight as well as PopCap Games concludes its exploratory consultation into the profitability of its Dublin studios. The news wasn't good, unfortunately, and nearly 100 jobs were affected as the Irish studio closed its doors. That doesn't mean a jump in the Dublin unemployment rate, however. EA and PopCap have worked together to offer many employees jobs in other parts of PopCap, in other parts of EA, or with the company's many technology partners in Ireland and abroad. And as one door closes, another one opens. SimCity developer EA Maxis has expanded its operations, opening a new office in Finland to concentrate on mobile games for the Sims franchise before potentially expanding into other properties. Surprise! If you didn't see this one coming, you haven't been paying attention. There are zombies in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. The addition of the undead, originally planned as a simple gimmicky add-on for Call of Duty World at War, is now as much a staple of Treyarch's development as the guns and the wartime setting. This time around we get 3 new gameplay modes, the huge open world of Transit, the classic survival approach, and the new 8-person multiplayer of Grief, which pits humans against zombie, where the aim is simply to outlive each other. Black Ops 2 is due out for PC, Xbox 360 and PS3 on November 13th, with a Wii U version following shortly after. And when we say shortly, we mean much quicker than the Mac version of the original Black Ops, which was released this week, 2 years after the release of the original game for PC and console. Thanks are due to Aspyr and Treyarch, who worked on the official port, and hopefully the next game won't take quite so long. A few quick things. November 7 has officially been renamed N7 Day, a time to celebrate all things Mass Effect. BioWare is kicking things off in style this year with the release of the Mass Effect Trilogy, all 3 award-winning games in one handy box. It will be available for both PC and Xbox 360, and we're told a PS3 version is coming at a later date. Something else that's coming at a later date is the Steam client for Linux, although the date is getting closer all the time. Valve has announced that the digital distribution platform is edging ever closer to the next operating system, with an internal beta kicking off this week and plans for a private external beta launching sometime next month. Speaking of Valve, there is a very special collector's edition in the works for the Portal 2 soundtrack, Songs to Test By. The album was released online, comprising of 3 volumes of music from last year's action puzzler. From October 30th, thanks to Valve and Mike Patton's Ipecac recordings, you will be able to get your hands on a 4 CD set, with the extra disc containing 13 songs from the original Portal. Rockstar Games finally got around to releasing Grand Theft Auto 3 on the PlayStation Network this week, and in yet another example of Australia tax, gamers down under are expected to pay 66% more than their American counterparts. The game is a simple $9.99 in North America, but the equivalent of $16.65 if you buy it from an Australian account. Aussies are paying something a little bit more sensible for the 4th World of Warcraft expansion, Mists of Pandaria, which launched this week to great fanfare and a handful of bottlenecks and bugs. The developer's nifty new setup, which saw gamers able to walk right into the new content at the stroke of midnight, meant that every single player connected to the server attempted to make the same moves at the same time, which made things more than a little awkward. Still, once that was all sorted out, everybody was happy and gamers have been dinging 90 all over the place. Not out yet, but soon, is Rift Storm Legion, which we featured a few weeks ago. If you've been interested in trying out this MMO, now is a good time to hop over and pre-order. For the next week, $1 from each pre-ordered copy will be donated to Pandas International, because Tryon Worlds loves pandas too. And finally this week, Rovio's follow-up to smash hit Angry Birds hit the store, and with just 3 hours on sale, Bad Piggies was already sitting pretty at the top of the iTunes charts. It's a little bit different, a little bit more challenging, but it already looks like it'll follow in the footsteps of its feathery predecessors. We're not sure, however, if this is the fastest selling Rovio iPhone game ever. That title might still belong to Angry Birds Space, which hit number 1 on the App Store just hours after going live, but nobody seems to know the actual amount of time it took. Either way, Angry Birds Space went on to sell 10 million copies in 10 days and 50 million downloads in just 35. For the full version of those trailers, or for more information on any of these stories, head to playerattack.com. I'm Jessica Citizen. We'll see you next week.